talking about this month, we are part of a larger movement, Centers for Spiritual Living. I know if you just found this place, you're thinking, what's this gym in Ocala? What? Well, there's lots more of us. There's over 400 different centers around the country and the world, and we are just one of them. And the theme for this month, although we don't all have to do the themes, we can do them if we choose to. Our theme is spiritually motivated moral leadership. And today I'm talking about how challenge helps develop that leadership. So that idea of spiritually motivated moral leadership, sometimes we hear words and they feel like buzzwords. You know, you hear the word moral, and sometimes that has a connotation to it that may not be accurate or may not be what we are about. So the way we define that, the way I'm saying moral leaders are leaders that are driven by purpose, they are animated by courage and patience, they inspire and elevate other people, and they build muscle, meaning that it's not like a destination that you arrive to, like I'm a leader. No, it's a continual journey. And that information came from Fortune magazine, of all places, right? So you're gonna get a lot of my inspiration, I didn't bring my book. My inspiration for this month comes from a book called The Truth About Leadership, which is a business book, but we can find truth anywhere. You know, and what we teach here at Centers for Spiritual Living is what we call universal principles, meaning that they are true no matter what walk of life you're from, no matter what age, race, denomination you came from. There are certain truths that are just true, right? So that's what we're talking about here. So it kind of crosses all of those boundaries. And there's the book I was telling you about, The Truth About Leadership. So what we talked about already this month is the idea that leaders are the people that you know. You know, I asked you all at the beginning, you know, how many of you think, like, what are your ideas of what a leader is? Of who are the leaders, right? You might think, well, the president obviously is a leader, and people in Congress are our leaders, and, you know, business people are leaders. But who are the leaders that make the most impact on your life and my life? And those are the leaders that are closest to us, people that we may not really even see necessarily in that light. But the fact of the matter is that if you are a parent, you are a leader. If you're a grandparent, you're a leader. If you're a manager of any kind, you're a leader. Whether you know it, accept it, believe that there are people who are looking to you for leadership. And if you're not in that position right now in your life, you will likely be called to leadership at some point or another. The question is, are you going to say yes to that or not? And I have to assume that because you are sitting here, because we have come together, because you're listening online, that you are a leader and this message is for you in some way or another. So I don't know if that's stirring up something for you, if your stomach's getting a little queasy just thinking about it. But the fact is that we are all leaders in some form or fashion. And because you're a leader, you make a difference. You know, you make a difference whether you believe you make a difference or not, right? We are all making a difference. What we want you to do here is to be intentional about the difference that you make, right? For your life and in the lives of other people. Leaders are driven by their values, right? Your values are your compass. What is important to you? And each one of us should know what our values are. I talk about it a lot, that every one of us should know what is important, and then put them in order. Put them in order, because once you know what your values are, you can measure everything else up against that. And say you have a decision to make. Do I take this job? Do I go out with this person? Do I go to this place? All you do is measure that up against your values. Is this what I stand for? Right? Is this going to uphold what I'm about? So your values are important. Leaders focus on the future. That's what sets leaders apart. We all want people in our lives to be honest, right? We want to be honest. We want other people around us to be honest. We want that from everybody. What do we want from our leaders, though? Right? We want them to be honest, but we also want, you know, our peers to be honest. The thing that sets leaders apart is that we want our leaders to have a focus that's future-oriented. Where are we headed? We may know where we are right now, but the leader is going to tell you, where are we going? Where are we headed? And you want that to be a positive direction, right? That just makes sense. And then we talked about last week that leadership is actually a team sport. No one accomplishes anything on their own. And anything great that has ever been done anywhere has been with groups of people. Right? So a leader knows how to motivate other people behind a common cause. So now we're going to go through the truth about leadership. I think it was 10 different things that they talk about in this book. And I'm going to pick up on the last pieces of this today. So another chapter in the book is that challenge is the crucible of greatness. And that's where I got my talk title from. You either lead by example or you don't lead at all. The best leaders are the best learners. And leadership is an affair of the heart. And what I started with, just say yes. So I'm going to go through each one of those points. Now, some of you may remember it's been just over a year ago that I stood here in this pulpit and I shared with the congregation that the finances were not looking good. And in fact, I hadn't been paid for about 6 months at that point when I stood here. It was probably October. Hadn't been paid for 6 months, and I kind of kept it, on the low key, thinking like a good religious scientist that if I just speak what I want to see manifest, right, then that's what's going to happen. And I kept thinking, well, any day now it could turn around. Someone could walk into the center and say, we're going to give you X number of dollars and all the problems would be solved. And so I didn't allow it to be known widely what the situation was until I realized I had to. It was not good for me. It was not good for the congregation for me to be doing what I was doing and not get paid. So I stood here and I let y'all know that, and not for anybody to feel guilty or bad, but like I need to step back a little bit for my own integrity and also for the center to understand that. So for this past year, I've been, here's another cool thing that happened. After I said that, not knowing what was coming next, having no idea, I just said, I know that I need to step back and I'm going to see what shows up. That evening, I get a telephone call from friends at the River Phoenix Center for Peace Building, who I've been doing some volunteer work for, and they said, we know you're super busy, but we love what you do, and we would just love for you to come and work for us. Wow, is that not like an answer to prayer? So I said, sure. I said, yes. And we worked it out. So I was part-time so I could keep my position here. I could be at River Phoenix part-time. And that would allow the center to grow and come back to where it needs to be to support a full-time minister. And I told them I would give them a year. Well, now that year is up. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was out of the pulpit for like 2 straight weeks and totally gone due to family stuff that was going on. And Sunday morning, I came in here and I thought, now I'm going to leave it to Spirit because I'm getting really good at this surrender thing. Right? I don't know what's next. I know it's time for me to move from River Phoenix, and I'm just open to whatever Spirit shows me. Like, I'm going to know, here's what I'm telling myself, I'm going to know when I walk in that Sunday morning. It's going to feel right or it's not. And then we'll know what's the next step. Wow, I'm excited to tell you that when I came in and I did that talk 2 weeks ago or whatever, the day was just amazing. And I knew coming back into the pulpit, this is my home. This is where I am. Not going anywhere. This is where I am. This is still my work to do, and I will do it as long as it is my work to do. So I'm just letting you know that I'm here and I'm back and I'm so excited. All of the things, and it's not that it was a totally beautiful day. It was an awesome morning, awesome service. There were some real challenges that day, as you remember, but all of it came together for me to know that yes, this is still mine to do. So last week in our foundations class, we had an exercise of doing a visioning. Now, how many of you have done visioning before? Many of you have. So what visioning is, for those of you who are new or have never heard of that, it's a meditative process where you open yourself up to the universe or to God or whatever you want to call it. And when we visualize, we have a goal in mind, right? We may do that meditative process with the goal that we already have. And then ask Spirit to show us how do we get there. Right? Visioning is different. In visioning, you open yourself up to the universe and say, okay, God, just show me. I'm not coming into this with any agenda. Just show me. And it's a series of questions. And the first question is, what is your vision? right? What is your vision? What do you want? What's your vision for your ministry? What's your vision for the center? What's your vision for your life? And you just ask the question. And so I'm thinking, what's my vision? And now that I'm fully back in, and I'm thinking I'm going to see visions of big buildings, or maybe I'm going to be on Oprah, or who knows, right? Where our next space is going to be. We're going to be on Silver Springs Boulevard where everyone can see us. And what came to me was all of these C words that are really values, right? Donna was my partner. All these words came up. Courage. It was a longer list than this, and they were all C's. And I just started thinking about this, right? What is my highest vision? My highest vision is a life that is lived from principle and values, right? And these are the things that came up for me. Courage. Courage, because courage is the start of everything, right? We don't do anything new unless we have that courage, that willingness to step into something new. Clarity, of course. That's always the surrender, right? I surrender and God show me, make it crystal clear what is the next thing to do, what's the next step. I value clarity. Compassion. Compassion is just at the top of the list for me, for myself and for the people that I surround myself with. Communion. Now there were a lot of other words like communication and connection and things like that I put together in this word communion. Because what that word means for me is that place where we find common ground and where we see ourselves in one another. When I look at you and I see myself in you, right? When you look at me and you see yourselves in me, right? That for me is communion, and there's nothing more beautiful than that. Collaboration. I'm all about collaboration, teamwork. Again, nobody does anything on their own. The most amazing things, any event that you want to think about, social change, it always comes from a collaboration of like-minded and like-heart, people with like-minded hearts. I'm all about contribution. It's all to me about, I've been given much, I need to give it, right? It's part of that, much is required, and it keeps that flow going. So I get and I give, and I get and I give. And it just keeps going round and round. And then commitment. I believe very strongly in commitment. There are those moments when you don't feel like doing the thing, right? When it's not so much fun, or, whatever, things happen, life happens. But commitment is doing the thing that you say you're going to do, whether you want to or feel like it or not. And then you make another choice later. Right? Maybe I don't need to stay in this particular job or in this particular relationship. Right? Then you decide at that point, I'm gonna commit to something else. But the commitment is doing what you say you're gonna do, whether you want to or not. Right? And getting through to the other side. And that's a very valuable thing to me as well. So that's just so you know me as a leader. Because that's another thing. Like I saw from that list of who are the most important leaders in our lives. And your spiritual leader is like right there. It's like number 3. And that was, I guess it was a little surprising for me, but now to stand in that and say yes to that. To say yes to that. So the study of leadership is the study of how men and women guide people through uncertainty, through hardship, disruption, transformation, transition, recovery, new beginnings, and other significant challenges. Now, can anyone see themselves in any of those statements? Mm-hmm. Anyone going through some uncertainty? Mm-hmm. Anyone going through hardship, right? Disruption. Anybody going through transformation? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Transitions, recoveries, all of these things, right? And this is what leaders do, is that they help us get through these challenges and changes. Leadership is also the study of how men and women in times of constancy and complacency, right? When things are just status quo, right? Actively seeking to disrupt that status quo and awaken new possibilities and pursue new opportunities. Does that resonate for anyone? Yeah. And that's a quote from that book, from the Truth About Leadership. So for that first thing, the challenge is the crucible. You know what a crucible is? You looked it up? That's that thing is a crucible. That thing is, it's a ceramic or some kind of a container where metal is melted, right? And it's refined so that when it comes out of there, it's super strong, right? And so you know when you've been through the fire that you come out the other side stronger, wiser, right? And challenge does that to us. What we have before us are some breathtaking opportunities disguised as insoluble problems. Has anyone ever had one of those? Challenge is the crucible. Challenge is where we're made, where we find ourselves, and where we become leaders, where we become stronger. So I'm going to share some of my backstory and why I am passionate about this work and why I've said yes to being a leader in this movement. And I found this teaching in this place back in, it was probably 2003. Does anyone remember the year that 3 hurricanes ripped through Florida? I had just found the center just before that. And my life with that, so that was probably 2004?
Yeah.
2004, so we're talking at least 15 years ago. And at that time in my life, I was running a business. I was working from my home. I was publishing a parenting magazine called Family Times. It's still around. And actually it wasn't Family Times at that point. It was called something else. And I went through a really terrible time with a business partner, so my business was falling apart. Our marriage was on the rocks. That's my husband there. Same husband that I had back then. And it is truly one of the great miracles of my life that we still have a loving, wonderful relationship, because there have been many crucible moments. We don't get through 30 some odd years together without having some of those. So the marriage was on the rocks. The business was just a disaster. Financially, we were on the verge of bankruptcy. We were on the verge of foreclosure, and I was more than 100 pounds overweight. I was hypertensive. I was just about diabetic. I mean, like all of these things at the same time. All of this stuff just came crashing down on me at the same time. And I had just found this teaching. I just found it. And so I started, applying some of those teachings to my life, and things started to change slowly but surely. But it did make me very, very passionate about this work. I can't tell you how many times I sat in these very chairs and just cried over something that I heard, something that touched my heart, and then go back into that back office and sit with Reverend Peggy for a couple of hours and pour my heart out. It was a tough time. So the other day I was cleaning my house, and I came across a video from that time that I think this is from 2005, maybe 2006. So it's just starting to come out of that. And can you hit the video?
Everybody knows that show.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so does anyone know the show The Biggest Loser?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was, like I said, more than 100 pounds overweight, and it was feeling like that was probably going to be my only way to get rid of the weight, to release it. And so I created an audition video, and that's what this is. So, Biggest Loser, now I'll tell you, I was a little conflicted, because like the dummy books, I don't like to get those books that say such and such for dummies, because you put your word out there, like, why would I call myself a dummy? I mean, they're great books. There's lots of great information. Same thing with The Biggest Loser. Like, do I really want to be known as The Biggest Loser for the rest of my life? But I was desperate, so we'll just watch the video. And I'll close my eyes while you're looking at it. And we have the most awesome tech team. It's so fabulous. I'm not showing you the whole video, just about half of it. The second half has my family weighing in on why I should be on the show. Or shouldn't we? And it's just there. Okay. And now I close my eyes.
I'm Cindy Grimes. I'm a 42-year-old wife and mother of 3 from Ocala, Florida. And oh yeah, I'm your next biggest loser. Here's why I should be on the show. I have a gift for connecting with people from all walks of life and inspiring them to find the best in themselves. I have never faced a challenge I couldn't beat, and I'm going to be one hot mama like a tornado.
Okay, I'm not going to be on the red team, as you can see. Got my t-shirt done and everything, so you don't have to buy me one. You don't have to make one up for me because I'm ready to go. I got this, by the way, before I went to the Orlando casting call. You guys forgot to call me. That's why I'm sending you this tape. You need to know what I really need to lose. Here you go. I didn't do this right. All right, here it is. There's the whole package. The big butt, the big legs, the big boobs, the big arms, the whole deal. There's about 100 extra pounds that I need to lose. Please help me.
Where I run my business from. I publish a parenting magazine. I've done that for the past 11 years. I published this parenting magazine, and I feel like it's a really great service for our community. It's kind of an extension of the work that I was doing as a social worker, because I feel it's more on the prevention end and a way to help parents be better parents by giving them resources that they might need, or things they wouldn't know about in the community if they're new. I belong to lots of different community organizations as part of my work. I belong to our local Children's Alliance, which is kind of an umbrella group of people like our YMCA and the Sheriff's Office and Boys and Girls Club and places like that. And every year we take on different topics to bring attention to or to work on and try and improve in our community. And this year one of our focuses is on childhood obesity. And of course that's an issue that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm really focused on helping our community be more aware of the problems and things that kids face when they're overweight. And not only as overweight kids, but we know that overweight kids become overweight adults. And there's no better spokesperson for that than me. So, anyway, I think that wraps it up.
It truly felt like a crucible. Let me tell you, and it was not overnight. It was years of releasing stuff, of doing this work, I couldn't stand here and teach this to you or share these ideas for you if they didn't work for me, and for lots of other people. So whatever challenge you may be going through, whatever thing you're climbing, just keep on going. Just keep on going. Yeah. And use these principles because it works when you work it. It works when you work it. So one of the principles, that book, The Truth About Leadership, we lead by example, we don't lead at all. Right? People may hear what you say, but it really doesn't matter what you say. What matters is what you do. People are going to do what you do. Right? If you're a parent, you know this. If you don't, you need to. Because it doesn't matter what you tell your kids, right? They are going to do the things that you do, not what you say. And I love that quote. The world is changed by your example, not by your opinion. Right? How many opinions do we have? Everybody's got one, right? Anybody else on Facebook? We see lots and lots of opinions. I wish I didn't know everybody's opinion. I wish I didn't always spout it out. I try not to do mine all the time because there's probably somebody looking, right? Thinking, oh, there she goes again with that love and light stuff. But the world is changed, by your example. Be the change that you want to see. Right? We say this all the time. If you think the world isn't kind enough, be a little kinder. Right? If you want a friend, be a friend. If you want money in your life, then give money. Right? We need to give, and we need to be what it is that we want to experience. The best leaders are the best learners. The best leaders are the best learners. How many of you are lifelong learners? Consider yourself lifelong learners. Always, there's always something to learn. Now, there are some people that are not that way. There are some people that say, I've already done enough. I've learned enough. I don't need to know anymore. Don't show me anything. Don't teach me anything else. Don't show me. I like my life the way it is. I'm not doing anything else. I've heard people say this. I've actually heard people say this. To me, it's all about growth and expansion, right? So leadership can be learned. Leadership can be learned. There's a fallacy about leadership, and we say that leaders are born, right? That somehow, there's some kind of gene that people have that has them be a leader, or that they're born that way, that they're predestined to be that. It's not so. The research doesn't show that, and life experience doesn't show that. So leadership is an observable pattern of practices and behaviors, and a definable set of skills that can be taught. Right? Leadership can be taught for the person who wants to be a better leader, for the person who wants to be a better manager, for the person who wants to be a better parent, partner, whatever that thing may be. We can learn these skills and we can practice them. Learning is the master skill, right? The willingness to learn. And what does that look like? It looks like experimenting. It looks like trying things out. You try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you don't do it again. You experiment. You read. You reflect on your life. Spend some time thinking about your day. How many of you reflect at the end of your day? What worked today? What didn't? What can I change tomorrow? Right? What is it? The unexamined life is not worth living. Right? Spend a little time in self-reflection. And then practice. We call what we teach here spiritual practice, because we are practicing all the time. And there are other practices. Practice of medicine, practice of law. They're always practicing, right? A person could be a physician for 20 years and they're still practicing medicine. Right? We are here. Do your spiritual practice. Doesn't matter how long you're into teaching or how much you think you know. It's always a practice. And we practice and we get better. And then if get coaching, that's another thing. Or we call that have a session with a practitioner or a minister or a therapist, right? Get the help when you don't know how to do it for yourself, right? There are people who have, I guarantee you, there's somebody who has been through your challenge. No matter what it is, no matter how awful you may think it is, or how isolated you feel you are, or whatever it is that you're going through, I guarantee you somebody else has gone through it and come out the other side. Right? So get some help. Get some coaching when you need it. Be open to that. And then adopt a growth mindset. A growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is the mindset that says, I already know what I know. I already have what I'm going to have. Right? And this is just how it is. Like, this is my life. Do you know anyone else who talks about like the curse of my family? I've heard people say this, right? Oh, it's just the fill in the blank. It's just the family curse. It's just the family. This went wrong because of the family curse. Nonsense. Okay? It only perpetuates because you believe it. It only perpetuates because you keep it in motion. Right? My son-in-law was saying one day, talking about his getting a flat tire. And oh, there it is, the Gallagher curse. Well, his dad kind of is getting a clue about this and says, okay, son, when was the last time you checked your tires? Right? When did you get them checked? When did you know that they were already getting low? Well, yeah. Well, why didn't you take care of it? That's not a curse. Right? That's not a curse. You get clues along the way. Alright? So know that change is possible and that leaders are made, not born. And we're all born, right? We're all born. So leaders are born too. But leaders are made. Leaders are made. And this leadership is an affair of the heart. The power of authentic leadership is found not in external arrangements, but in the human heart. Authentic leaders in every setting, from families to nation states, aim at liberating the heart, their own and others, so that its power can liberate the world. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. Parker Palmer, yeah. Why would we step up in any kind of leadership? Why? Why? Love, right? Because we care. Because we care, because we believe in ourselves, because we believe in something better, because we believe in the people around us. Right? It's an affair of the heart. Love is the soul of leadership. Isn't that beautiful? That comes from a business book. That love is the soul of leadership. Love enlarges lives. How many people know that's true? That love enlarges lives, right? Love gives us that foundation from which we can go out and feel like we can do anything. Right? If you know you've got that person that relies on you, that person that loves you, that person that cares, right? We will go above and beyond for the people that we love. Leaders are in love with what they do. If what you do doesn't bring you joy, find something else. Find something else. We're not here to survive. Right? We're not here for that. We're here to thrive. We're here to live. Right? Because guess what? Nobody survives. Right? There's an end date for all of us. All of us, that expiration date. Right? So live fully the time that you're here. You know, if you're just scraping by, if you're dealing with a job where you can't stand it, you hate to get up in the morning, find something else. It's not serving you. It's not serving you. Be in relationships. Be in do things that serve you. Do things that bring out the best for you. Do things that bring you joy. Leaders are in love. I love this congregation. I love this place. I love this teaching. Yeah. I love life. I love life. For change to happen, you have to say yes. Yes. For change to happen, you have to say yes. And sometimes that's scary. Sometimes you get the answer and you go, oh, no, that's not for me, please. I have to say, there was kind of a little piece of me that was like, okay, as I'm surrendering, God, tell me if this is not my place, you know. Right? Because there are things about doing this work. Right? Every Sunday it's another talk. How many ways can I put a new spin on this topic that we've talked about? And there's always a new way. There's always a new way, right? So there was that little piece of me that was going, okay, God, it's all right if you say this isn't fun to do anymore. But the fact is, now that I know, now that I'm crystal clear that it is, there's such joy in that. There's such joy because I know what other things to let go of. Right? So say yes. Everything you do as a leader begins with that word yes. And until you say it, nothing great can happen. Right? We're not here to say yes to everything. Sometimes you have to say no to some other things so that you can be a good solid yes in the thing that is yours to do, right? Yes. For change to happen, you have to say yes. So, the epilogue of my story, I guess, is it's not complete. My life is not perfect by any means. But can you see that trajectory where I was headed? And where I am now. And it would have been a very, very different picture had I not walked in to this place, had I not found this place. It was my lifeline. It became my lifeline. And I just know that whatever things you may be going through, this could be your lifeline. I'm not going to say it is for sure because I don't know. We all have our own path. You know, there's no one answer for anybody. You know, find the thing that works for you. Find the thing that brings you joy. And if it happens to be this place, I would be so thrilled. And if it's not, I am thrilled for you as well, and will affirm that you find your right place, right, and the things that bring you joy. But if you want to play together, I'm open, right? I'm willing. We're here to make a change in our community, to make change in our lives, and to make change in the world. How many of y'all are feeling we're just at the edge of something that is needing to change, that is wanting to change, and it's bubbling up. And sometimes the chaos is just the precursor, right? You can't remodel your house without tearing some things down. It's messy, right? It's dusty. You don't want to be in it. It's not fun. It's uncomfortable. But when you clear all that stuff out, you rebuild. You know, you come in at a larger, you know, more organization, just better, stronger, wiser. It's like praying. It's like so many things, right? There's so many metaphors for this. So this is just what you're going through right now. What we're going through as a culture is just part of that shift. So can you all get on board with that?
Yes.
All right, we're saying yes. Yes. All right, so I'm going to read the affirmation.